Thank you so much for coming. My name is Karen Maynard, and I'm the Director of Student Services here. Just want to let you know that we are filming this information meeting tonight so that people who live out of town are able to get the same information as you're going to get. So what we're going to do first is have all of our faculty and staff come up just so that you can real briefly see the majority of people that work in our program. We have quite a lot of them here tonight. And then we'll go right on into our presentation about the program content and the field internship and things like that. So if I could have all the MSW department come up. So I'm Karen Maynard, Director of Student Services, and I work a lot with the admissions, and so glad to welcome you all.
Hi, good evening and welcome. My name is Froylana Heredia-Miller. I'm the Director of Field Education here at APU.
Hi, I'm Jean Un, and I'm one of the field faculty helping students with their internships.
Hi, good evening. I'm Virginia Olivas, field faculty, and I coordinate the DCFS stipend program, so I'll be back up a little bit later to talk to you more about that opportunity.
Hi, my name is Margaret Lee, and I specialize in the macro curriculum. I really enjoy policy, so if any of you guys are interested in policy, come find me so that we can talk.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Shepherd-Payne, and I specialize in the clinical curriculum, so you'd be learning DSM-5 backwards and forwards.
Good evening. My name is Shana Neshama Bannister, and I specialize in international social policies. So those who are interested in international social work, you will hear later in our presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Gallup. I am part of the field faculty team and also teach in the macro specialization, program planning, evaluation, grant writing, fundraising, and fiscal decision making. I know that's a mouthful, and I think I'll be teaching macro theory, so look forward to meeting you. If anyone's interested in systems change and nonprofit leadership, I'm the one to talk to.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kim Setterlin, the director of the MSW program, and welcome. I teach courses, I teach the healthcare and social work course, and have taught capstone as well. Look forward to speaking to you after the information meeting.
Welcome all. I'm Adrienne Navarro, and I teach research here. My area of interest has been macro practice, and I'm also a gerontologist, so I've been doing research that involves older adults.
Hi, I'm Regina Chow-Trammell, and I teach mainly in the clinical curriculum as well, and my research is in mindfulness, so if you're interested in that, come talk to me later.
But take a deep breath first. My name is Olivia. And I teach the introduction practice courses as well as the advanced practice courses. Also teach capstone. And I can't remember what else, but my research interest has to do with serving the Latino populations and advancing the skill for Spanish-speaking clinicians.
My name is Chris Trejo. I work in graduate admissions, so any questions in regards to the application or application items, I can help you with that. Other than that, go to these awesome people because I have no other information.
My name's Lucinda Adam, and I'm the program coordinator for MSW program. I've been at APU for 20 years, and my role is to work with both faculty, these wonderful people, and students. So I do both and really enjoy my work. So glad to have you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so welcome everyone. Did you enjoy the little slideshow at the beginning? That was very inspirational even for our faculty to watch, because those students that you saw there in leadership positions graduated just last year and the year before and the year before that, and they're already in some pretty heavy duty roles. That's the exciting thing about the social work degree. If you're here, I'm assuming you've done a little bit of research on the field of psychology and you're trying to decide if the MSW is for you. So I want to talk a little bit tonight about what can you do with a MSW degree. And one of the reasons I like to share a little bit about why I chose social work, and it was because I could kind of have my foot in both worlds of clinical work and community leadership and nonprofit leadership. And I felt like I was prepared pretty well for operating in both. I love to do clinical work. I love to do leadership and plan programs and build programs and resource programs. But let's talk a little bit about what some of the settings that where social workers practice, and this will give you an idea of the types of things that social workers can do. So as you can see from this list, I won't read them all, but definitely direct practice with people, doing counseling, working with children, adolescents, grown-ups, beyond grown-ups, families, working with foster care, child welfare, in healthcare settings, in juvenile justice settings, and if you really love the macro side of social work, then community organizing, being involved in policy advocacy, and housing. Right now, housing is really something that's really impacting communities. And the opportunities for advocacy and making change are tremendous. Faith-based nonprofits, and as you can see, school settings, so many places where social workers can practice. So this is not an all-inclusive list, obviously, but I would like to call Kim Setterlund, our program director, to come up and talk about our specializations in a little bit more detail to help you understand the community leadership and program administration specialization, and then the clinical practice with individuals and families specialization.
Thank you, Olivia. As you can see from this slide, a social work degree offers so many opportunities, which was what attracted me to the profession. And when I look at this list, I can see that I have dabbled in multiple areas in social work, which is what I love. And for many years, I considered myself a generalist, dabbling in health, mental health, in a psychiatric, inpatient, outpatient setting. So I think that's a real big draw for the MSW degree. So you might be wondering, well, how can I be prepared to work in these settings? Okay, well, in our program, we have 2 specializations. Okay, so when you're considering the application and what you're most interested in, take a look at the 2 specializations, which are community leadership and program administration, which we usually refer to, in short, macro. Okay, you might have heard some of the faculty talk about their macro level teaching interests and research interests. So if you are a big picture thinker, you think broadly, you think systems change, you may lean more toward the community leadership and program administration specialization. Courses will involve content on community organizing and outreach, program development, fiscal management, grant writing, advocacy, program management, international social work. Others may be more of a micro level, thinker in terms of clinical practice with individuals and families. You might be thinking, I really want to work one-on-one with individuals and really affect change one person at a time, right? So for the clinical practice specialization, you may be looking at a behavioral health or mental health focus. Okay, working with individuals, families, small groups. Okay. So what I want to note is, although we have these specializations in micro and macro, you can expect that you're going to be learning both, because in the field of social work, you need one and the other, right? It's a marriage, okay? You can't just have micro or macro, and I think that's what's really unique about the social work degree. All right, you all have this handout. This is a Venn diagram, and this was our conceptualization of the specializations. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick orientation of this. Right in the center, in the green, are the generalist practice skills. In our program, these skills are taught in the first year of the program, which we call foundation year. All right, so if you see, these are the skills, core curricular items that all students will come away from the program with, and that sets a foundation for practice, okay? And that can include engagement with clients, collaboration, completing biopsychosocial, cultural, spiritual assessments, and so on, okay? In the specialization year, okay, for full-time students, that would be your second year. In part-time, which we'll talk about in a little while, that's in the third and fourth year. Okay, you will begin coursework in either the micro or the macro specialization. Okay, so in the, I think that's orange, okay, that's macro, the macro courses, okay, macro curriculum. And then the blue are the clinical skills, okay? So that's where your specialization in coursework occurs, okay? All right, so a little bit more about community specialization and the courses. These are the required courses for the degree and the specialization. And that includes program planning and evaluation. If you're interested in nonprofit management, this course is really a strong course to give you a glimpse, you know, the program planning and evaluation aspects. Organizational behavior and management, which encompasses a lot of the administration aspects of social work, human rights and sustainable development policy, organizing for community change, research, and then your field internships, and then capstone. And for clinical specialization courses, they span, you know, children and adolescents to adult behavioral health. Those are 2 DSM heavy assessment intervention courses. Family therapy and context, social welfare policy, and integrated healthcare, research again, everybody gets research, and everybody gets capstone, and then your field internship courses. And for field, you would be placed in an area of your specialization, so micro or macro or clinical or community leadership. Okay. In addition, you would take 2 elective courses, and you can choose from the list. These are the courses that we currently offer and that are really most popular, okay, and kind of most consistent with the trends in interest in the profession. Okay, so I'm just gonna have you kind of take a look at that. And I'm gonna ask Dr. Neshama Bannister, right, to come and talk a little bit about the International Social Work elective.
We offer this year 3 possibilities for students to go to an international setting to practice skills in international social work. And these countries are Kenya, Ecuador, and India. We're trying to add every year additional sites, and the future we're looking into maybe China, Thailand, and Japan, possibly Russia. And the students, they are engaged in community development, identifying grants for those community for social development. In addition to that, work hands-on assessing community member and mental health evaluations alongside, for example, in Kenya with Kenyan social workers. In Ecuador, the emphasis is mostly on providing education to communities. And In India, our goal is to work with women who have been affected by domestic violence and then children, providing services for them. Those who are interested in international social work to further their skills in a cross-cultural setting, please come talk to me.
Thank you so much. We were fortunate enough to send 2 teams this past summer. A team went with Dr. Neshama Bannister to Ecuador, and then a team went with Professor Miller to Kenya. So you can see either of them if you have more questions about this opportunity. And then there are some links as well for you to visit if you're interested. All right. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call Olivia and Donna up.
Professor Gallup and I would like to kind of demonstrate what it would be like to serve a family from a clinical perspective and from a community leadership perspective. So this is our vignette. Okay, a family with 3 children, ages 2, 10, and 13, are referred to a community-based mental health agency by the school district. The 13-year-old son has exhibited behavioral problems in the classroom. The mother appears depressed. This is the first time the family has come to the agency for help. So the question for me as a clinician is, how does a social worker approach this case from a clinical perspective? So from a clinical perspective, if I were the clinician for this family, I would be assessing one of the family members to start. Probably I'd be speaking with the parent to find out what the concern is. And if she wanted to engage in treatment, then I'd be talking to her. I'd be using the DSM-5 to establish some criteria to diagnose her and to set up a treatment plan, see what she wants to work on in terms of her goals, minimizing symptoms or some other issues she may want to work on, and I'd include those in the treatment plan, and we would go forward and work together. If she wanted me to see her son, which was the originating complaint, right, or the originating problem, then I would see him also, and using criteria from the DSM also would diagnose him. I would approach him differently because he's 13. He may not want to talk. So there are different strategies that I may use with an adolescent. They might include a variation of play therapy, board games, something to break the ice, something to get him to talk and feel comfortable. So I have to have some strategies under my belt to kind of pull out and work with him. The other 2 children may also be impacted by what's going on in the family. So if you think about it, a 10-year-old developmentally is very different than a 13-year-old, so I would have to work differently with that child, but also be looking for what symptoms might be impairing anybody's ability to function within that family. The 2-year-old, what do you do with a 2-year-old? Okay, so we would want to look at how mother, if she's depressed, how is she connecting with her children? There are a lot of things to look at environmentally. How well are they connected to their system in which they live, their community in which they live? And I would be looking for risk issues. How depressed is mom? Does she ever have suicidal thoughts? Is she so depressed she's maybe not being able to care for the children well? Is she needing some kind of support? So there are many things that we look at in a family system. But that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. I could go on, but then we need a community perspective. So Donna, Professor Gallup, how does a social worker approach this case from a community practice perspective?
So as a nonprofit leader, I would be looking at the program and finding out, why is this the first time that we've come in contact with this family? They clearly are involved in other systems, school systems, and what are the needs of the community? Are there other families like this that we're not reaching, asking those questions of the staff to also find out what partnerships do we have, how do we close that gap, how do we collaborate, do we have the relationships that we need to ensure that another family like this doesn't just come to us with all of these complex issues for the first time. And we're really, from the community perspective, looking more at the program needs, how are we meeting the needs of the community needs, are we meeting those needs, are there partners that we need to collaborate with to make sure that those needs are being met, and then of course to make sure that our program has what the services that Dr. Sevilla, that she described, to make sure that we have all those services. Dr. Sevilla listed a lot of expertise in that discussion, and as a nonprofit leader, your responsibility is to make sure that you have the services or have the partnerships with other providers to meet the needs of that family when they come in for that first time.
Thank you so much to you both. I love that we include this case illustration because it just kind of brings alive, the clinical aspects and the community practice aspects, and hopefully gives you kind of a sense of, what really resonates with you, right? Is it about addressing the individual needs of the children or the mom, or is it more the big picture, right, of what can we do to address the needs of more clients like this family, not just this individual one? So hopefully that was, useful for you. All right, so I'm gonna move on and talk a little bit about our program's faith integration perspective. And I really believe that this is one of our program's distinctives, that in our program, the faculty intentionally address holistically integration of faith and spirituality. Okay, so we believe that this is a holistic, a component of the holistic assessment of a client's needs. So in our courses, students have the opportunity to share about how might faith or spirituality play a role, whether helping or hindering the therapeutic process. Okay, what might be a contribution of the faith community in advancing human rights or advancing social justice, right? So what I find is that students really enjoy the ability to really talk about faith perspectives, regardless of what faith background they come from, and really comes to really some really rich discussions. And let me add that although this is a Christian university, Christian faith is by no means a requirement of entering into the program. In fact, we have a very diverse student population where we have students of all faiths coming into the program, and I think that really adds to the richness and diversity of the discussions and the experiences that our students have had. In addition, because we are also mindful of the care of our students, we have a graduate chaplain as well who offers spiritual support as well as a meeting. Really, it's a time of having snacks and just enjoying a break. It's called Soul Quest, and we just had that yesterday. It's a lot of fun. All right. So one of the questions that students may ask, or applicants ask, is, well, I'm interested in doing an internship in a faith-based agency. Is that possible? Right? And the field faculty will be able to speak further into that. But we do have partnerships with faith-based agencies, so it is possible. Okay. But we do want you to be aware that, we have a variety of agencies, both faith and non-faith-based. But I know that the field faculty meet individually with the students to really discern what are your interests and what are your long-term career goals to help you kind of establish a path for meeting those goals. All right. Let me move on to accreditation. As with any MSW program, accreditation is so important. Okay, so when you're looking at programs, you want to know that the program is accredited. Our accrediting body is the Council on Social Work Education. We have a national accreditation, and we have been accredited since 2008. And the accreditation that we have gives confirmation that your degree is good. Okay, the MSW degree is good, and you are eligible to collect your licensure hours. Okay, and employers will want to know that you graduated from an accredited program as well. And whether you work in California or somewhere else across the nation, your MSW degree will be acknowledged. Okay, so let's say you move to Nevada, you move to Kansas after you graduate, and we've had students who've moved all across the country, and internationally, their MSW degree is acknowledged, right? Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pass this back to Karen.
We have several different program options. So the first one is a 2-year full-time program, and you can just see the layout here of how classes and internship are structured. So full-time students are in class all day Tuesday and Thursday, basically from 8:25 in the morning until either like 4:30 or 5:30, depending on what class it is they're taking. And then internship is 2 full days a week. So our internship days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So students are typically doing 2 of those days. So the agencies know that they have to take you on those 3 days. The first 2 semesters, so fall and spring, everybody's taking the same classes. And those are what we refer to as the foundation classes. And then the second year, students break up into the community or the clinical classes. But as was mentioned before, you do take 2 electives, so there's kind of some crossover there. So you can take things from the other concentration, or we have the long list of things that are just specifically electives. We also have a 4-year part-time program designed for people who plan on working. And it's great because the people come in that are, they've got so much experience, and it's a very small world is social work. So there's a lot of networking going on, and not only are you learning from professors, but you're learning from your classmates that are all working in different fields of social work. So it's a very rich learning experience. Years 1 and 2 would be your foundation year. You would do internships in years 2 and 4. So years 1 and 3, there's no internship, it's just classes. Your classes would be Tuesday night all the way through the program, starting at 4:20. And then in years 1 and 3, you would also have a Saturday class that meets about once a month during the semester. All day Saturday. Some of those might be hybrid, but basically that's your schedule for the 1st and 3rd year. For the 2nd and 4th year, classes Tuesday night, nothing on a Saturday, but then you do 2 days a week internship. So you just have to have the availability with your work schedule that you can be released from work on 2 weekdays, because the internships are like 2 8-hour days during the week. We also have an advanced standing program that's 10 months, and that's for people that have graduated from a CSWE accredited Bachelor of Social Work program. So they've already done most of those foundation classes, and they've also done a foundation level internship through that BSW program. So if they are accepted into the advanced standing program, they have what we call some summer bridge classes. So it's 6 weeks of classes, typically in July or August, and then you come 2 nights a week for 6 weeks, and then there's also some online work. And then these students in the 10-month program would then join in with the 2nd year full-time cohort. And then so they would start in July, and then they would graduate early May with the rest of that cohort. And they would be bypassing the foundation classes and go straight into their either community or clinical classes. Now, an advanced standing student, instead of doing 16 hours a week internship, they do 20 hours a week because they're actually only doing 1 internship in our program. We also have a 2-year part-time advanced standing program. The those students have that summer bridge class just the same. They're with the 10-month students, but then they join in with the third-year part-time students. So they're doing it over 2 years. They're bypassing those foundation classes. So their first year would be the third year of the regular 4-year part-time students. They would not do an internship until their second year in the program, and then they would do a 20-hour-a-week internship. And now Fräulein is going to come and talk about field internships.
Field is definitely one of my favorite parts of any social work curriculum, because field is really the opportunity that you get to work one-on-one with individuals, families, groups. It is a wonderful opportunity for you to be able to bridge what you're learning in your core coursework and be able to apply those skills, to be able to integrate theory and just be able to just, it's a wonderful opportunity to serve. So I'm just thrilled and excited about field. So that's my wheelhouse, that's where I live. So in your field practicums or your field internships, we work very hard to ensure that our community partners can provide you with a wonderful opportunity to learn what it means to be a practitioner in this field. So our partner agencies also they don't just teach you what it is that they do, but they also work at socializing you into the profession. They work at honing those skills so that you can transfer the skill set that you develop at one agency site and that you can transfer it to the next, and then so on and so forth. So for our students in our program, you are definitely assigned to a social work field instructor. You have one-on-one, 1 hour each week supervision. And our placement sites are very much in line with what is the current trend and what's currently happening in the field. So socialization is a huge part of your experience. As you can see here, we're everywhere. So if you live in LA, if you live in Orange, the Inland Empire, Ventura counties, we have a field placement for you. So our field policy, it's not a 45-minute commute. Our field policy is actually a 45-mile commute from where you live. For the majority of our students, we do place, I can't say relatively close, but we never have exceeded the 45 or the 40-mile policy. But we do work very, very hard at trying to get you close to home as possible. Also, too, in our field program, students are responsible for having reliable transportation for field. We do not require that you have your own vehicle, but we do require that you have reliable transportation to and from your internship site. So that is also an important part, that when we meet with our students one-on-one, to understand what are your transportation needs. So some of our students have needed to use public transportation to get to their site. So that does become a talking point, and then also it helps us to elicit or solicit to different agencies that might be along the different routes to make it more accessible. As you see here in this slide, social work, it's a great time to be in social work, and it's a great time to be a social worker. Our most recent projections from the U.S. Department of Labor shows that between 2016 and 2026, that we're actually going to see a projected growth in social work jobs by at least 16%. Now, there is going to be an increased demand for healthcare social workers as well as social service social workers. And so that will also tend to drive the demand for social work, and also most likely set rates for salaries. But in this chart here, what I wanted you to see is that employment of social workers working in child, family, and or school settings is projected to grow at 14% over the next 8 years. For healthcare social workers, it's a 20% growth rate that is projected. And then employment in mental health or behavioral health and or substance abuse, that's projected to grow an additional 19%. So, of course, keeping in mind what the job trends are, we also work very hard at recruiting agencies in these particular fields to give you this level of experience. On this particular slide, this is just an example for a first-year student or a foundation year student entering into their field internship. So we like to highlight some of our domestic violence programs where our students will learn case management, how to respond to crisis intervention, how to facilitate therapy groups and or provide psychoeducation and community outreach. Also, in school-based mental health programs, again, this is an opportunity to provide individual therapy to school-age children. We now are seeing more school-based counseling programs engaging in home visitation, and so also learning how to do that. And then our students have opportunities to build curriculum in these particular sites related to anger management or grief or bullying. And so, and again, crisis intervention and case management are key components in foundation year. For Professor Gallup, if you wouldn't mind, we wanted to highlight a couple of our specialization year placement sites. And so this year, we were very fortunate in that Professor Gallup coordinated an effort with our university and our other sister schools here in Southern California. And if you would kind of talk about CSH.
Yeah, the Reader's Digest version is really excited. We have 5 macro students this year, part-time and full-time.
All pictured there.
Yeah, that's their fabulous picture. They are placed in specialized sites through a Hilton-funded grant through a national organization, Corporation for Supportive Housing. And those sites are intended to hopefully address some of the gaps in workforce for homeless services in LA County. So they're getting specialized training. This year is super exciting. I don't know if we'll be able to repeat it next year, hopefully, but they're getting a small stipend this year. And they're also getting, hopefully at the end of the year, some job opportunities. And their placements are specialized in housing and homeless services, which is an area in LA County that's going to be growing very quickly and is going to be definitely, if you have any interest in those particular areas, definitely going to be work for you when you graduate.
Thank you so much. And with our clinical internships, we like to highlight forensic and or jail mental health programs. So currently we partner with Metro State Hospital, Patton State Hospital, Chino Prison, just to name a few, where our students in specialization or clinical focus on working with this population. So it would include complete assessments, could include court testimony, would also be, you'd also be a member of a multidisciplinary team in which to how to provide the best services, as well as assistance with transitional housing. Oftentimes, sometimes the clients of who have been institutionalized for some point in time may have already finished their sentences, or sentences that may be commuted, and in which case there are integration programs that transition the clients from an institutionalized setting into mainstream community. And so our students do have an opportunity to work on those types of release programs as well. So that's just to name a few. So we often get some commonly asked questions related to field, and so we thought that we would try to answer a few of those for you tonight. But of course, after the presentation is over, myself and my field team were available to answer any specific questions that you might have as well. But one of our first questions is about receiving credit for field because of past work experience or other types of internships. And so, unfortunately, our answer is no. You cannot receive credit for that. Our accreditation body, that is just a standard of accreditation, and so we can't give you any type of hours credit for that. Now, can I describe the field placement process? So at this point in time, we have 3 rollouts for the field placement process. So for students entering specialization year and our advanced standing students, that process actually will begin in the next few weeks, where we'll be describing what the placement process will look like. Students will complete a field application and then schedule interviews, one-on-one individual interviews with members of the field team, so that we can get a best sense of what are your areas of interest, where would you like to be trained. We look at location, we look at previous experience, and so we want to try to avoid duplication of that. So advanced standing and specialization year roll out in March. Our part-time cohort moving into their foundation year practice, they roll out late April, early May. And then our brand new full-time foundation year students roll out in May throughout the rest of the summer. And that placement process is the same. So all of our students attend, they complete a field application, they meet one-on-one for your interview, and then there is also an orientation that goes along with that, usually at the beginning of the year. Internships on weekends or after work. Unfortunately, we do not have internships available on after hours or on weekends, mostly because the majority of our sites lack the capacity to provide adequate supervision or to provide adequate learning experiences in those after hours programs. And then, do you need a car? No, you don't need a car. Car preferred. However, as long as you have reliable public transportation, and we'll make sure that if you need public transportation, we'll make sure that you are not placed in an organization that would require you to conduct a home visit without where you would need a vehicle. Okay, all right. Here, what we've done over the next 2 slides, and you can refer to your handout, these are simply the categories of the different types of internships that we offer to you. So as you see, they can be related to gerontology, substance abuse or addictions, community mental health, displaced persons and homeless, the VA, which is a specialization year placement, domestic violence services, serving our veterans with PTSD, school social work, policy practice, program development, immigration issues and refugee work, and the list goes on, including our international social work program. Okay, that's another plug for that one. Okay. All right, so thank you, and I will turn it over to Karen.
So Chris and I are going to just talk a little bit about the admissions process. And so I'll talk about it from our department perspective, and he will talk about it from the grad and professional admissions, like actually how do you get all your paperwork in. So we like to see a 3.0 minimum GPA, but we will still consider applications that are under that. So if you're someone that's maybe got some good work experience, and if everything else is great about your application, that doesn't mean you can't get in because you don't have a 3.0, but it would mean that you would be admitted on what's called a provisional basis, and you just have to maintain a certain GPA for the first few classes, and then that would be removed. So don't be discouraged if your GPA is less than that. We do require a degree, an undergrad degree, a liberal arts-based undergrad degree from a regionally accredited college or university. So that's, most schools are regionally accredited. It's just sometimes some of the for-profit schools are not, but typically all the Cal States, the UCs, a lot of private schools, they are regionally accredited. We do require a statistics class with a C or higher. That could have been taken at a junior college. It could have been taken online somewhere. It could have been from your university. You can still apply if you have not yet taken a stats class, but if you were accepted, it would be conditional pending that you did one and you completed it and got a C or higher before you started. We do like to see some relevant experience. So some of you in the room work in social services now. Some of you may be doing an internship, and some of you may have volunteer experience. So all of those things are good, but that is one of the things that people are assessed on. And we do not require a GRE exam. So you should be all very happy about that, because that's not fun, especially if you've been out of school a long time and you have to start studying your math again. So we require a personal statement, and we ask for specific things to be written. So make sure you follow this format. It's 6 to 8 pages, double-spaced. It does not have to be an APA format because this is just you writing about you. And so the first thing is the motivation for pursuing an MSW education, including your relevant background experiences and professional goals. Then we want you to tell us about your professional and volunteer or internship experiences related to social work. So this is where you can really tell us about yourself a lot more than we can see just from a resume. Then we ask you to write about what are your expectations regarding attending a Christian university for an MSW program and approach to faith integration in scholarship and service. Basically, we just kind of want to see what are your thoughts about it. As we had mentioned before, you absolutely do not have to identify with Christian faith to attend here, but we want you to think about, are you okay? Do you feel okay coming to a school where we are going to have those discussions about what is it like, how do you ethically integrate your own beliefs, or just to learn how to be comfortable working with clients who may have faith that they want to talk about. So just want to make sure that people are okay with that, right? Then we want you to talk about a discussion of a social problem of interest to you, including your perceptions of the causes of it and potential solutions. And then finally, an ethical challenge that you have faced in a professional field or volunteer setting and how you resolved it. So this is going to take a while to do. This is not the kind of thing that you just throw together the night before the deadline. We're also looking at the quality of your writing, so I highly recommend that you really put a lot of effort into it. And yeah, so now Chris will talk about some more things.
So our process just recently switched. So this year, all of our applications are going to be online. So we're no longer going to get a stack of papers with their humongous essay. So congratulations, you can just type everything up and submit it from your house. You don't have to come into our office. But these are going to be the requirements that we need. Our application is online, so apu.edu. Anywhere on our website, on the right-hand side, you'll see an apply button. And just scroll down to the graduate application, select social work, and then it'll walk you through all of these requirements as well. There is a $45 application fee, which is waived for veterans or APU alumni. The personal statement, as Karen mentioned, is definitely a thing that holds students back from completing their applications. So definitely get started on that as soon as possible. I've talked to a number of students who, I have my application done, I just need to finish my personal statement. And then months and months go by, so get started on that as soon as possible. We will also be looking for your resume, your professional resume, highlighting your experience relevant to social work. And then there's 3 letters of recommendation. Those recommendations are submitted online as well, so you're going to input the contact information for 3 people who you know on a professional level, not your friends, not your family. And they will receive an email with a form to fill out, and then they can also add an additional letter if they would like. We will also be needing your official transcripts. Those can be sent electronically to the email address listed there, or if they want to send it through the mail, or if some schools only send it through the mail, after, come by, see me, and I'll give you the address. I have it on my business cards. And then lastly, just make sure that we have that proof of statistics course. I am one of the people who works in admissions for social work. The other person is my colleague, William Watkins. So we split the program back and forth. You can reach out to either of us. If one of us is gone, the other one will work with you. It's not an exclusive thing, so you can see our contact information there. Those are our direct lines, and those are our email addresses. And the deadline is going to be an early deadline of the 15th, and an advanced standing deadline of the 15th, and then the regular deadline is March 1st. So you have a lot of time right now, but definitely get started on that personal statement. I'll be available at the end for questions as well.
You might be wondering what's the difference between the early admission deadline and the final deadline. So the advanced standing applicants have to apply by January the 15th. But the regular students for the 2 or the 4-year programs, if you get it in early by January the 15th, then we process those first. And then we take the ones that we feel are the strongest of those applications, and we'll give some early admit offers. So the benefit is if you're a really good applicant, kind of like the cream of the crop, you can find out earlier on and get an offer when all the spots are open. If you apply under early admission but you don't get an offer, then it doesn't mean to say you won't get in. We hold those applications and we consider them again with the ones coming in up until the March the 1st deadline. And so then we have another round of admissions offers. So that's kind of what that means. Just a little bit about financial information. So we charge per unit. So I know some of the state schools, like you're paying per semester, and people feel, well, if I go part-time, it will cost me more money. That is not the case here because you're paying per unit. So you're just spreading it out over 4 years instead of 2 years. So the tuition does go up a little bit every year. We never have drastic increases. It might go up, $20, $30 a unit, for example. So you can see what it would cost here. This is based at the tuition rate for this academic year. So it will be slightly higher next year, but it won't be drastically higher. And then you can see for advanced standing, you're taking 36 units instead of 60 units. So the program costs less. And these prices do include the summer bridge classes. Now, all of our students get federal Stafford loans, and you can qualify. You can get up to $20,500 a year in federal loans. If you're an advanced standing student, you can borrow more that first year because you're taking those summer classes as well. You can also apply for Graduate Plus loans. So for example, let's say if you're a full-time student and you're not working and you don't have the luxury of, living with family or having a partner to support you and pay your rent, then it is possible that you can borrow more money than the cost of the tuition to help you with, housing, food, transportation, those kind of necessary things. So the federal Stafford loans are not, they're not dependent on your credit rating, but the Graduate Plus loans, they do look at like credit rating, whether you have dependents, things like that. And this is the name of the financial aid counselor, Terry Franks. She works with the social work students. So if you were to apply for our program and you had any more questions about financial aid, Terry would be able to help you with that. So this is just kind of for your reference. If you choose to apply here, the first thing you would want to do, of course, is apply for a FAFSA, and then you would need to know the APU school code here. So kind of keep this handy. And then later on, you would apply for the Graduate Stafford Loan Worksheet. This is a scholarship that we got funding for this. We're in the last year of this grant cycle. So we're hoping that the federal government puts out a call for this again, that we can apply for it and hopefully get it. But as of right now, there aren't funds for people coming in next year until, like I said, they put a call out, and we will certainly apply. But it's a wonderful scholarship. And we have been able to give full ride scholarships every year for 6 to 8 people, depending on the year. And so we've been able to give some to advanced standing students. It's basically, it will pay $25,000 per year. So an advanced standing full-time student would have all their tuition covered. A full-time 2-year student, they would get awarded it when they came in, so they'd know they have it. They don't have to reapply. They would be getting $25,000 for both years. And so that's actually a little bit more than tuition, so they get the balance back each semester. I'll just very briefly talk about the criteria, but I'm happy to talk about it later after with you, or you can call me. But it's designed for, the title is Scholarships for Disadvantaged Students. We do not love the title of it, but you have to demonstrate either financial need or whether it's economic or if you've had educational. The way they work that is dependent on what your high school was rated at, okay? So there's all high schools, they have a numerical rating in like performance, and so those that have the lower rating, then if you went to one of those, then you get a point for that. So the more points people accumulate, the more likely they are going to be able to get that scholarship. So or there's environmental, so just different things that happened to you that were challenging. So you do have to be have citizenship or permanent residency status. Unfortunately, DACA students are not eligible to apply for this particular scholarship, but they can apply for the UCCF stipend program, which Virginia will talk about in a little bit. And so they do have to intern at qualifying behavioral health sites, because the whole purpose of this is to try and get trained social workers to go work in areas that are the qualified medically underserved areas. And so, like as I said, we hope that they'll put a call out for next year and that we'll be able to offer this for students next year, but we don't know that yet. Okay? So now Virginia's going to come and talk about the DCFS stipend.
All right, so there are federal monies allocated to develop the child welfare workforce. And so this is the Title IV-E DCFS stipend program. So this is for students who are clinical concentration and who feel passionate about working with children and families. The stipend amount is $18,500 per year, and that's for each year of the program. So eligible students are 2-year full-time clinical concentration students, and we do have six stipends that are awarded annually. In terms of internships, our foundation year, first-year students will be interning at a community-based organization. So this is an agency such as adoption agency, foster care, residential setting, maybe a school-based setting working with TAY, with transitional age youth. That's in the first year of placement. In the second year, students are out at the Department of Children and Family Services shadowing workers on emergency response calls as well as in continuing services. And there is a requirement for the stipend that you don't pay it back literally, but you pay it back with work commitment. So there's an expectation to pay back 1 year per year of stipend. So it would be a total of 2-year payback. So next steps would be to see me tonight. I'll be set up probably back there at the table. I have flyers for you all, and you can sign up, and I'll keep you posted. I usually host information meetings January, February, and March. So come to one of those meetings, and I'll be connected with you via email, and my contact information is here. So I hope that those of you who are passionate about working with children and families and want a great job with great benefits, that you'll come and see me. All right, I'll have Jean come up and talk about GSWIC.
Hi, this is a Geriatrics Social Work Education Consortium stipend, and this is for students in their second year, specialization year, who are interested in working with older adults. So that would mean they would, for their second year placement, they would be placed in an older adult setting, and they would receive a $4,000 stipend. So you would have to apply to the program, and it's for both macro and clinical students. So you don't have to be a clinical student in order to qualify to apply for this stipend. And this is a consortium that consists of many of the universities in Southern California and about 11 partner agencies that work together to make this happen, to really encourage students to be interested and go into the older adult setting, because as you know, that's probably one of the fastest growing areas in social work. And the nice thing is that there's no payback requirement. So even though you do go through your second year field internship in the GSWIC setting, you're not required to work in that kind of setting later. But we do hope that you would continue to be excited about working with the older adults.
Okay. I have a great opportunity to share, but unfortunately there's no money attached to this one. Which, can we not have me do this last after all this good money opportunity? So this is the post-MSW Pupil Personnel Services Credential, also known as the PPSC. Here at APU, for our clinical students who want to work in a school-based setting and have an interest in obtaining this certificate or this credential, We allow you to use your specialization year clinical internship to gain the 600 hours required for the credential. Then students would then apply to either Cal State Long Beach or to UCLA's post-MSW PPS program in order to complete the remaining coursework, as well as a field seminar component that's associated with those programs. Okay, good. I just had to get the thumbs up on this one. So I'm also very happy to announce that we currently have a proposal that we've submitted for APU to have its own PPSC credentialing program. So we're very, very excited about that. We're very excited about its program design in that we believe that it will be an offering of both online as well as on the ground or in-person courses as well. So we're really excited, so stay tuned for more information about that particular program. So anyone who is interested in the PPS credential, please see me, or you can also see Professor Sutherland at the end of the evening. And then also I'll be fielding some questions related to GSWEC as well.
I'm not going to go into detail about this. I just wanted to put some information out that there are some programs out there that will forgive loans after you've worked a certain amount of time in certain qualifying sites. So this is just kind of for future information for you. And I have just a few photos here. So this is a photo taken of our incoming group, our newbies that just started in August of this year, different cohorts. We do have a student association, and they plan some social events, sometimes bring in speakers. They go to what we call lobby days up in Sacramento, and to find out how bills are made and passed. And this was the cohort that just graduated in May, and we have a graduation banquet. It's really fun. This is in addition to the big graduation out on the field here, but this is like really personal just for our students, where they have their friends and family come, and that's a great evening. We do have an alumni association. These pictures were taken from a gala that we had not too long ago. So as you know, we have a really diverse student body. We take some data when people leave. So this is the data from May 2017. We tried a new form of data collection 2018, and unfortunately we didn't get as many responses, so we'll probably go back to the old way. So I'm going to give you this because it has a better response rate. So as you can see, there were 41% of this cohort had a job offer prior to graduation. This was done about a week before graduation. 42% had been asked to apply or were already offered a job at their MSW internship site. So some sites might know that they're going to have a job coming up. They like the intern, they ask them to apply, but the job just hasn't been opened up yet. Then we had 27% that were offered a job by the MSW internship site and had accepted it. And then 80% of our students were the first in their family to attend college. So the majority of our students are what's commonly known as first-generation college students. This is the demographics of our current student body when you put together all the cohorts. And so as you can see, we have a lot of diversity in our program, except there's always a lot more women in the program, right? So we currently have a total of 204 students, and that's made up of full-time, part-time, and advanced standing students. So now we've invited a few of our alumni. So we have 2 alumni come to speak, and then 1 current student. So you can kind of find out from them, like, what is it really like in the program? And then for our alumni, what are you doing now? And so the first person is Sean Griffin. So Sean can attest to that. He was probably in your community classes. I think you were the only male in the class, right? But he handled it just fine, so he was fine. So Sean just graduated this past May, so he was in the 4-year part-time concentration. He was working full-time in community. And then after Sean speaks, Pam Dong will come up. She graduated in 2014, was in the full-time, also community. And then we have Ashley Allen, who is a current student. She's in the 2nd year of the full-time program, and she's also a leader in the Student Association. So we're going to turn it over to Sean. After our students here have finished speaking, we're going to stop filming, and then we're going to open it up for questions. Okay, so Sean, come on.
How's everybody doing tonight? So some of the questions I want to try to address or answer is why social work? Why did I decide to get into social work? Why APU? And was it that difficult of a journey? So for me, my background, I was in transportation for 20 years, and there's someone here tonight that actually worked with me. Hey, how you doing back there? We worked in transportation for 20 years, and even today it's interesting. I get that question, Sean, why the 180-degree turn from transportation for 20 years, Class B, running around Los Angeles driving a bus, to social work? Well, I narrowed it down to 3 reasons. 1, purpose, meaning, and options. For me, it wasn't enough just to run around Los Angeles in the concrete jungle is what I call it, driving a bus, dealing with traffic all day, monitoring bus routes. I wanted to work with people. I wanted to give meaning and purpose to people. I wanted to do more than just help people, but I wanted to empower and advocate for people. So I now have the pleasure of working with not children, but the geriatric population, which I work for a company called Innovage in San Bernardino, just months after I graduated. And so that's been purposeful to me, that's been meaningful to me, to be able to sit with families and assist them through processes. I'm a case manager. I have a large case of seniors that I work with, but I enjoy working with them and their families to help them through our process at my company, where we're basically an insurance provider for seniors. And so when they need someone to advocate, when they need someone to go to the table to speak to the IDT, the interdisciplinary team, I'm that social worker that can talk on their behalf and get the services that they need. So to me, that's purpose and meaning. Options was something that was appealing to me in social work, because prior to this, 10 years ago, I started my journey in school to get my BA and my master's in psychology. Well, one day, as I was taking my program in psychology at another school, our professor, he dropped what I call a wisdom nugget on students at that time. He advised us, he said that if you want to be pigeonholed in one career, then continue on your path to getting a master's in psychology, where you're only able to just counsel people. However, if you want options, career options, then I would suggest that you consider going on the path to obtaining your master's in social work, where you have a plethora of career paths that you can get into, from working with children to seniors and everyone in between, from the jail people who are in jail to people who are getting out, people in geriatrics, and all over, from macro to micro, going to Sacramento, to working on the front line in your city, helping people who are underserved. So that was appealing to me, those options. Second thing, why APU? Well, I'm a Christian, for one thing, and so I love integrating my faith. Not to preach, not to pray, but to learn how to have empathy. I think that's the core. Because, again, when I sit down with my clients and they tell me their stories and their issues, the things they need help with, that hits me right here. And so I'm able to go to work, and it fires me up to want to advocate for them. And so APU teaches you, gives you the tools that you need to enable you to advocate for your participants, whether they're seniors, adults, or children. Why APU? Because at my first intern, my supervisor there, she said, Sean, I bring in interns from APU because they know how to produce qualified students who are ready for the job. Matter of fact, when I was interviewed at the current job where I'm at now, my supervisor, she had interns from APU. She hired me because I was from APU, and she recognized that I had the tools needed for the job. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Sean, how can I do this? Especially a part-time program. I work, maybe have family. I understand. That was me. I worked a full-time job. I'm a family man. I'm a husband with 2 kids. I had to be at work at 4:30 in the morning. I didn't get off till 1 o'clock. I had class on Tuesday night, class on Saturdays once a month. I had homework, but I was able to do all that. Why? Because I understood that my why for doing it was bigger than my fear and everything else I was feeling inside, the anxiety, the wondering if I can make it through this process. Can I make it through this 4-year journey? But I did it because I had determination. I had reasons why. I wanted to be more than just a bus driver. I wanted to be more, so I pushed myself. It took determination. It took sacrifice. I could not procrastinate. So at nighttime, when I got a call from my friends, hey, can you hang out? I had to practice delayed gratification. On the weekends when I was tired and just wanted to relax and play video games with my son or watch TV, I had to go in my room and open the books and study. But I can say that the journey was worth it. After all these years of being able to stand on that stage, my picture was there, and I looked back and I was able to stand on that stage, and it was a wonderful achievement. And if I had to do it all over again, I would do it right here at APU, and not only would I do it, but I suggested it to my daughter, my baby girl, which is actually here tonight. Sierra, can you stand for a minute? That's my daughter, Sierra Griffin. She's considering coming here to APU, and she'll be well taken care of because all of these professors, they helped me, and I know she'll be in good hands. And you will be in good hands if you come to APU. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Pam, and I actually graduated in 2013, but that's okay. You know, it took a little more time. So I did the full 2-year full-time. So why social work for me? So 2 parts, my life experience and my faith. So I grew up in a broken home, and there was a lot of chaos, a lot of trauma. It was just a very difficult journey for me. I, had someone who had mental health issues, someone who was also in and out of the legal system. So it was just very difficult. And as time went on, then my faith came in. That helped me through a lot of the difficulties that I went through. And I also knew that I wanted to make an impact in the community, in other people's lives, but I didn't know how. And so I had a friend that was actually in the program already, their first year, and shared about it. And I was like, oh my God, I need to apply. And so I heard so much great things, amazing faculty who's very supportive, encouraging, the faith integration. I grew up in the public school system, so I have no concept of how do you integrate faith in school. So that was something I was really excited about. And so I applied to APU, just APU. Literally, it was my one shot. So I was like, God, if this is the place for me, and sure enough, I got in. And so I did the 2 years. I wanted to kind of get it done, but I really loved the journey. I think what helped me most to get through it, because I was out of school for 3 years prior. So imagine living the kind of work life, right, 9 to 5, and now you got to get back into school, you got to do papers and reading. It was like, I would say my first year, the first semester was probably like the most challenging one. I felt super overwhelmed. I wanted to give up. But, with the faculty, my cohort, I, bonded a lot with my cohort. So you'll make a lot of friends, and they're going to just stick with you. You're going to stress out, you're going to complain, but they're just there with you, knowing that others are going through the same thing. So I found cohort being super important. I also got involved in the student association as well, so that kept me in the loop of things and kind of getting the cohort together. I think I started the Facebook page, with our cohort, and then other ones that happened. So that's that. And then what do I do now? So I'm macro. I wanted to impact change on a larger scale. Even though I feel like I could do counseling, but I just didn't feel it, my passion there. So I ended up with macro, and I didn't know what that would look like, but my undergrad was in business admin, and I had some supervisory experience, so I think that kind of helped. And so right after graduation, this is a really cool story, by the way. So I applied to a bunch of, jobs, and a lot of jobs, of course, are more geared towards clinical, so there weren't too many macro. But this is a God thing. So I went back to, I came back to APU to pick up my field portfolio, and I ran into Kim. And I was like, she's like, oh, how's job search going? I was like, oh, it's going, nothing yet. And she's like, hey, there's going to be an opening at the Salvation Army. And so sure enough, I applied, and 3 hours after my second interview, I got hired. And it's a macro position. Like, I was just thrown off because I was like, it's a supervisory position. And so I was the coordinator of family services. So I oversaw 6, it was actually 5 at the time, but it became 6, family services office that provides emergency basic need, food, clothing, furniture, partial rent to avoid eviction, partial utilities to avoid shutoff. At the time, we didn't do case management yet, but we did incorporate that later. So I oversaw staff, volunteers, hiring, staff development, incorporating best practices, which none of that was there, There was no organization, standardization, and so building relationship with the staff. Then you got the, working with staff for our older generation that, changing in technology. So there's just a lot of things that were incorporated. And so I was doing that for 5 years, and I just got promoted a couple months ago to the director position. So whatever I was doing, but on a larger scale. So instead of just 6 offices, there's now 51 churches that I now oversee. And yay, thank you. Yeah, so now I'm gonna do program eval for all of them, because there's definitely a need that there's no standardization, organization, best practices. So I've been doing that, and it's been amazing so far. So yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. So I'm right now in the full-time second-year clinical concentration program, and I'm currently interning at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, which is amazing. So why did I pick social work? So there's so many answers to this question when it comes to mind, but for me, I had a personal experience with family members. I was usually in the hospital and taking care of family members. And I didn't really see that there was a lot of support there, and I really wanted to be that for someone else. And so that's where my heart always lied. And I always have loved working with children and families, and so that's really where my passion is, and I love to advocate for them, and I love to be that support that they need. And so that's really why I picked social work. and also because the other two have said options, I can't, I'm the person who likes to move around. So yes, I want to be in a hospital, but I also think that children need help in the schools with their mental health. And then there's options of going abroad. So our program offers international programs, and I was able to go to Kenya this past summer and serve over there. And so that's macro social work, but also clinical social work. So social work just gives so many options for you, and that's where I really found I could move around and just be able to do anything. So that's what's really awesome about social work to me. How the program is going, I'm in my second year, so I honestly am a little tired. I just came from internship today, so if you're worried about stress, if you're worried about being tired, that's natural and that comes with the program, and it's really good to experience that, because I tell you, you will learn so much about yourself in this program by talking with cohort members, by your field agencies, in your classes, and the amazing faculty we have as well. This program is probably the best thing I could have ever done. I myself too am a Christian. That's also why I chose to apply to APU, but I felt very pushed by God to pick this program. APU had always been in my radar. I do a lot of church work and volunteer work with a lot of middle school kids. So I was like, oh, APU, no. And I was like, I don't need to go to a Christian school. And then, God's always like, let's do it. This isn't what you want, it's what I want. So I was like, okay, and I live actually pretty close, and I wanted something that was closer to my home. I used to commute kind of far, and so I wanted something that was relatively closer. So I chose here, and I chose Cal State LA, and APU was my first choice, and I'm so glad that I picked it. Just the amazing faculty we have, that they're so supportive of everything that we do. And the cohort sizes are smaller than the average MSW program, so you really get to know the people in your cohort, and they're going to be supportive of you in everything and anything you do. And I love that APU integrates faith in that way, because that really makes us stand out from everybody else, because we're able to ask those hard questions about faith and really be there for those families that need that support, when a lot of other programs may not be able to do that. And in terms of my placement now, Children's Hospital is great. It's really where I want to be, and I encourage you to always advocate for yourself. When you get in, you all will get in. It's okay. To advocate for yourself in terms of your field placements, just advocate for what you want, and don't be afraid to be challenged. My first year, I was in a homeless agency working with adults, and my comfort area is children and families. So that's very different for me, and it was really hard. But I'm so glad that I did it, because I learned how to better work with the families I'm working with now. So just be confident in yourself and your abilities. And I'm also in MSWSA, which is the Student Association. I do a lot, but it's super fun. We keep you updated about a lot of other things, and just help you get involved with the program and other people in different cohorts and network with anyone else. So, yeah, thank you.
So thank you to our students and grads for coming to speak. And we're all going to hang around after, so that after we've done kind of the group question and answer time, then if you want to talk to anybody individually, you can, whether it's one of our students, our grads, or any of our faculty, based on their interests or whatever. This is just kind of information about our social media sites. And if you have any questions at all, either about the application process or about the program, here's my contact information. I am more than happy to talk to you anytime. So, like I said, we're going to stop filming now, and then we are going to open it up now just for questions.